Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It has definitely been a long while since we've joined the world of live streams, especially for Flight Sim 2024. It has been an interesting experience in this game, to say the least. There's been some good things, some bad things, and some, oh boy, ugly things. But we always make the best of it. For those of you, of course, interested, we're going to attempt to fly with multiplayer here. I've not had a lot of luck with it. Some days it works fabulously. Some days I won't see a single person in the air, much like the clouds that I've ordered up a few moments ago. But hey, it's a part of the fun, as they say. So we're currently located at 07 Foxtrot Alpha. It's basically a little flying club right at the tip of the Florida Keys. And of course, we're going to be flying this guy. It was not going to be the Bonanza that was chilling over there, I should say, the Baron. This is a really cool plane. I think this is probably one of the neater planes. Like I always think of the TBM in when you flew on the previous version of Flight Sim. This is probably my go-to right now as far as most things. It does do one weird, goofy thing in VR. The windscreen isn't quite connected, which creates sort of a fun little problem when you're operating it. But it is a neat aircraft. It is, of course, the Corvallis twin turbo here. It's a C400, the Columbia 400, the Lancair, whatever one you'd like to go ahead and take a look at. This thing's pretty cool. I love the fact that it's got gull wing doors, and it's one of those airplanes that when you climb inside, you realize real quick that you're dealing with a slightly different category of airplane here as far as the amenities go, I guess I would kind of call it. So you definitely, oh my goodness, look at that. You'd be hitting your knee in the back of this. And again, she's flying with us again today. So again, if you'd like to have a go with us, we're sitting here lovely 07 Foxtrot Alpha, but I've got my player settings set correctly. Absolutely everything I can as far as my flight settings goes to make sure everybody's visible. But like I said, it ignored most of the things that I said here, including the fact that I wanted some clouds today to make it look a little more authentic. But it is what it is kind of a thing. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Very straightforward aircraft. Like I said, I'll have a video on this one a little later on for those of you who are curious. It's neat. It's definitely high performance. It does all the right things in all the right ways, kind of a deal. I appreciate the fact that it's got two sets of power switches, which is a little weird because we're a single engine plane. Also appreciate the fact that this one has a really, really nice engine on it, and it makes it real simple to kind of cruise around with. I'll go hit some lights there. Looks pretty good to me. Prime. I think the button doesn't actually do anything in this one, but whatever. Click, click, click. Start. Not bad. So for the purpose of this stream, of course, what we're going to be doing is just kind of giving everybody an update, sort of letting folks know sort of what we've been up to over on our side of things, as well as, kind of getting, where you go. And again, like I said, there's a big patch coming up pretty soon. It's going to be like the big one. I was taking a look at joining the beta for that one. I opted not to join the beta for that one because I was afraid it was going to break everything I already do. But apparently people have been having a lot of luck with it. So some of the bugs that you will see today, they have worked on and done a pretty nice job as far as correcting. So kind of keep that in mind as well. Alrighty, let's go ahead and start the party here. I'm going to go ahead and get our usual things. That looks good to me. A wind, that's fine. A wind setting, option 3 is the correct option, of course. And we're just going to go ahead and set a quick flight plan here. Nothing too complicated today. I thought of a bunch of different options as far as what we could do for this. But like I said, just keep it nice and simple today. Boop, boop. Let's see here. We're going to go to this one. Boop, just like that. 07 Foxtrot Alpha for anybody who's joining in here. Press enter. No runway. I don't really care. I'll go to the on-right destination here. I think, oh my goodness, I have to go take a look at my own notes. Marathon. I got it. KMTH. Sounds pretty good to me. I always make the mistake of doing forgetting to shut that button off right there. That looks pretty good to me. And of course, our destination today is all the way at the end of the Florida Keys. Come down here, push that button real quick here, and that's going to be Key. Whoop, helps if you type it in correctly. Key West International Airport, which is nice. It's a pretty good sized airport too. Although I think Marathon's kind of more interesting. All right, one little check. Looks good to me. Let's go set our CDI to be the correct item. GPS is set. Cruise altitude is basically whatever I feel like at this particular time, so I'm not worried about it too much. Looks good there. Let me just take a look to make sure I put it in correctly. It looks like a long flight. It's not in this airplane, that is for sure. All right, let us get going. Okay. This is an interesting airplane. In the real world, of course, we do not have steerable nose wheel. It's a castering only. So what you'd have to do is basically stand on the right pedal and hold the brake in order to get this to turn. Hey, somebody's joined us. Nice. I have no idea why the nameplates are not visible. I'll take a look at my settings in a few moments to go check that out. But for those of you who are trying to join us, like I said, we're chilling here at 07 Foxtrot Alpha. Let me go see if I can adjust that real quick. I think it's a little crazy here that I'm looking down this runway here, and you'd have to go through all these airplanes to get enough runway to actually take off. Let's go ahead and see if I can do anything about this real quick. Its settings, I see someone sneaking up on me here. All right, the question is, what is it going to be under? Let's find out. Aircraft traffic type, this AI traffic, live weather, show aircraft. We got that set correctly. Voice communication, oh gosh, that would be garbage. I definitely do not want that. Translate to other players? That is such a cool feature. I did not know that was a thing. Data consumption, I'm not going to worry about any of that. I really would expect it to be in here somewhere. So if anybody knows where that option is to basically turn that sucker on. Ah, here we are. Gotcha. Save him back. Oh, let's see who's joining us today. We are being joined by Simon. Fantastic. Long time no see. Ah, neat. It is working. So we're going to be joined by Simon, which is awesome. So apparently it does work correctly. It was just being a little goofy before. All right, let's go ahead down into the runway. I'm going to do a quick click of flaps. Of course, of all the problems that I've been facing in Flight Sim, one of my favorite ones here is that you lose sound from time to time. You have screens that shut off on you. The autopilot on this one's got kind of an interesting personality and sense of humor, which I find a little bit frustrating, but it's kind of one of those things. I'm not going to worry about it too much. Let's just sneak underneath this. Excuse me. Oh, I cleared it. Delightful. This is a very curious airport, I'm not going to lie. It just seems a little strange. Oh, the fact that it's got the keyhole here at the end to make it a little bit easier to turn your airplane around. But I'm also looking at it going, where's the taxiway that's supposed to lead to it? So I'm not worried about it too much. All right, let's go take a look here. Oh, one of these days. All right, go swing myself around here just like that. The nice thing is, Simon, you'll definitely be able to take advantage of time acceleration for this one. It'll definitely make it a little bit easier. Otherwise, the 172 will be a little bit slow for this one. Try to do something, like I said, usually between a half an hour and an hour, which is pretty good. All right, last quick idiot checks here on this one. We're going to go get our landing light turned on. That's one of the things I always get penalized. One thing I find for this airplane is if you pull the blue handle back like a little tiny bit before takeoff, you get a little bit more friendliness here. Oh, we're joined by a helicopter, too. Welcome, Helicopter 5432. Everything's good up here. Looking up above my head, lights are good. We have no oxygen we have to worry about. Fuel's turned on. Do we have enough fuel for flight? We probably do. Yeah, we have plenty of fuel, so I'm not worried about it. All right, crack my knuckles. Test my toes. Is it just about 10 a.m.? It is 11 a.m. It is time for takeoff. Let's do it. Good old turbocharged aircraft rolling takeoff. Come on, there we go. There we go. Now I figure, whoa, getting pulled here. That's okay, though. A little bit of right. And I'm just going to mow down this Corvallis right here. How you doing, helicopter? Good morning. Excuse me. There we are. Delightful. And good frames today. I'm appreciating the fact that I think it's just interesting that your world's lagginess is equal to how much terrain is around you and, of course, who else is around you, which I just find is kind of interesting. I don't know. It's just sort of one of those things. Nothing but golf course here, and I'm very proud that I'm making a lot of noise. Right, everybody trying to make their shots here, and imagine when they have hurricanes and stuff like that. This is not a pleasant place to go. So this is a very, very, very high-performance aircraft, and I am consistently impressed with how stupid powerful this thing is. It's very much like a Cirrus, but I feel like it's just a little bit more aerodynamic than a Cirrus, and of course it has speed brakes, snip, for those of you who are so inclined to play with them. Oh man, look at that water. We do not get water like that where I live, that is for darn sure. Let's kind of keep swinging around here. You did bring a life vest, everybody, right? Because if you did not bring a life vest, this could be kind of interesting for us. All right, going to keep swinging around here. I find that the autopilot on this aircraft, for some bizarre reason, every once in a while tries to slam you into the ground, and it's not my fault that time. And we're joined by Helicopter 5432. First time, welcome. If anybody else, of course, is joining us today, that's fine. I just, for whatever reason, not joining us. We are in the East USA server. You can get us pretty much any place along the Florida Keys here. Let's go ahead and line ourselves up here. I'm not going to fly at any particular altitude. I think 1,500 is plenty. Realistically, if I were flying over water like this, you'd want to get as much ground underneath you as you can, but there's not a lot of it to be had, so we're just going to have to deal with that. Let's get ourselves all squared away here. Give it a couple taps of the trim real fast. Go ahead, back the power up to something that's somewhat in the green there. And we'll go down to 30 inches. Let the turbocharger take a nap. There we go. About 2,400 RPM. Should be plenty, too. Like I said, I'm consistently impressed with how stupid fast this aircraft is. We're doing 165 indicated right now, which is plenty. And a couple of claps of Tim. I like how you're actually slightly nose down during cruise, which is very typical of these extremely high-performance piston twins, or singles rather. And the other thing I find kind of interesting, and this is just sort of like a side note here, is there's no adverse yaw in this aircraft whatsoever. I let go of the controls. Like I'm not touching anything right now. I'm not on the pedals. I'm not on this. Autopilot's not engaged. And you can see I have just the slightest left tendencies there, but I have no funky yaw tendency there. Just a little weird. Go ahead and give that a couple taps down, about 1,500 feet. Man, this thing is just easy. That looks good to me. Like I said, I'm just on trim now. We're not autopilot or anything like that. There's some classic flight sim bumping around there. That's okay. There we go. Nice and easy. Nice. Fantastic. Not bad. Not bad at all. So see how everybody else is getting on there. I'm going a little quick here. They'll catch up. I'm not too worried about it. Nice. I got to swing to my right a little bit, though, or otherwise we're going to get massively off course. So the Florida Keys, interesting place. I will definitely say that I've never actually been to the Florida Keys before. What I was basically reading is we're trying to find like an interesting place to kind of go cruising around. And they're like, well, you know, got some like pretty waters and stuff like that. And I've, of course, picked this one out. I imagine this is relatively temperate. I have been, of course, down to the Bahamas before. We've flown down to the Bahamas. Very, very, very pretty region. Definitely interesting. Like, it's one of the jokes that one of the cruise directors or tour directors I was talking with at the time is they're commenting on the fact that so much of their economy is basically derived on people visiting the place. And it's one of those things where in the state that I live in, you know, our economy, you know, we're the insurance capital of the world. I live in Connecticut, for those of you who don't know. And we obviously have other service industries, you know, some area industries and stuff like that. But it's, you know, more or less industrial service based. But I can't imagine an economy based on people visiting you. Like, that's just, I don't know. Where I live, that's just weird. Even though, yeah, people do visit Connecticut from time to time, I'm sure. But it's just kind of an interesting thing. One of those little deals. So another fun thing about the Florida Keys that I found out when I was trying to figure out what route we take and everything like that was the fact that somebody thought it'd be a good idea to make an entire road along the length of the Florida Keys. And I thought that was kind of crazy. They had one of the world's largest bridges for a while there. I think it's like 11 miles long. It's just staggering. But the concept there is you theoretically can just drive the Florida Keys. And there's just something very brute force engineering about that, which I don't know. I just kind of appreciate stuff like that. Oh, my swamp. I'm just looking at that right now going, oh, swamp, but check out this bridge. It's just like, look at that. Yeah, you want to go from Florida? You want to go all the way to the Keys. Again, you can just go ahead and ride on a bridge like that. And there are things like that all around the world. But I just find that particularly impressive. Just like, you know, we're going to find a way. And apparently at 1.2, I think in the early 1900s, they had actually built a railway. And the idea of the railway was basically to connect the Keys by train, which I think is pretty cool. But like, this is hurricane area, hurricane and alligators. And I'm like just imagining like steam trains like trying to make their way along all this. And I just find that kind of interesting, just from a logistical perspective, sort of a piece like that. Got a nice gentle tap. I like how little, like I'm actually working the ailerons right now and you can only almost see me moving the ailerons just to give you an idea of how gentle this helicopter. You can tell I've been doing a lot of that lately. Just how gentle this aircraft actually handles. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Whoop, getting a little bit of that classic turbulence here. Over water, of course, the big thing that you probably face in the real world would be visibility. Again, right now we're getting glorious, perfectly open skies, and it's very quite simple to kind of just look around and see where we're up to. And there's the game saving right there. In the real world, of course, we'd be facing quite a bit of the bounce, so to speak, but I'm not going to worry about that. I noticed there's something sneaking up on me, though, so let's go check this out. Let's go do an inset map there. Oh, see, that's not the one I want. I wanted to do the traffic map. Oh, no! They haven't enabled the traffic map. That fills me with sigh. Oh, well, not going to worry about it. Let's see if we can actually get that over on this version here. Oh, yeah, we can. We can. There we go. Apparently somebody's following me at about 100 feet behind me. That seems a little close, but I'm not going to worry about that too much there. One of the things I think is interesting about the traffic map is they actually do project the magenta line of victory or safety here. So I find that kind of cool. And I actually have two aircraft cruising along behind me, which is perfectly fine. Go flip that sucker over real quick. So it does work. It does work. Anyway, let's go put this away. I don't need to see that right now. Obviously, I'm doing a little Pathfinder thing here, but that's perfectly fine. So some other things, of course, I've been spending some time in Flight Sim 2024. It's kind of a good time since it has been a few months. Our last stream was back in November of 2024. Here we are on March 1st already, to give you an idea of just the amount of time that has kind of passed between us and them. And it's been a journey. One thing is, I've been very impressed. The game looks good. It runs probably a little bit quicker for me than it did over on Flight Sim 2020. The big difference, of course, here, too, is that streaming makes my loading times, once you get into the game, fabulous. The loading times, of course, when you're actually getting into the game, terrible, and it just takes absolutely forever for any of that stuff to kick on, and it's, oh my goodness, they need to fix that. I don't have that many add-ons. There's not that many add-ons available yet. Everybody's too afraid. Speaking of add-on news, of course, you probably all caught the fact that the Airbus A350 came out, and everybody's been super excited for that one. I, for one, am not very excited for it. I know I'm not. You probably know I'm more of a GA helicopter guy. I'm a little less of an airline guy. I think, and I'll discuss this in a minute, but with so much of flight sim, like when I was in the early days, everything was airliners. And then, as I've sort of evolved as a real world pilot, as well as flight sim pilot, I've come to really, really appreciate the simple things, I guess, in life, if that makes sense. I know there's a really, really fun internet meme out there where basically you have like the bell curve, and then on the left side and the right side of the bell curve, you have kind of like the wise person or like the angry person, and then you have the bell curve with everybody in the middle. And it's like you always think like kind of towards the left of that curve. The bottom left is like, general aviation is cool. And then the middle one is airliners. And then, of course, the master people on the right side of the curve would be like, general aviation is cool. So it's just kind of that's sort of the visual I always kind of mentally think here. Man, they weren't kidding about turquoise waters. That actually is pretty beautiful there. So that's kind of what I think. And of course, like I like helicopters, but one of these days I'll buy myself a collective to go along with my joystick setup. It's just I don't have room on my seat to do it, so it's like, oh well. But anyway, speaking of Flight Sim 2024 here, it's been a journey. I did quite a bit of the career mode. I actually got all the certifications you can at this point, and it was a grind. It was such a grind. And I was reading actually an interview the other day. I think it was on Flight Sim add-ons with Jorgensen, basically the head over at Asobio. I cannot talk today. Asobo, who's basically discussing the fact that going forward, they're going to be making the careers most likely be something that you can pick the missions for just in the mission page. So, for example, I could right-click on Key West and say, add fire mission here or something like that. And I am super excited for that. But that's I doubt we're going to see that until the summertime. I'm pretty confident about that particular one there. But that's a shame because some of the career missions are interesting. For those of you who haven't tried doing the helicopters where you're doing spraying like the vines and stuff like that, my goodness. I've had to work hard in a helicopter. I've never had to work harder in my life. And then, of course, they have like the hoisting missions where you have a helicopter that doesn't have enough power because you're up too high and you're supposed to be able to do it. And it's like, but the helicopter's overloaded and then like it drags and then you get lag and then the game penalizes you because you bumped something that wasn't there. And then there's trees. You can't see the ground where you have to drop the hoisted cargo down on. And you're not supposed to descend like that when you do cargo. Yeah, I'm not even going to complain. I just did, I suppose. But the reality is a lot of those functions are just, they're not there yet. People just haven't had a chance to really go through and get the nastiness out of it. So unfortunately, I gave up on the career. I feel bad. I know I've seen some pictures over on the Reddit page where they do some beautiful stuff with the career where people have like, $78 billion or something like extremely high like that. And they're flying like airliners, like breakfast, breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of a thing, which is fabulous. I just feel bad. One of the other interesting things that came out that's kind of a thing is I thought was very fascinating was the fact that people spend more time in career in this game, in Flight Simulator 2024, than anything else. Now, when I say by more, I'm referring to 60% of people, it's 59.3 or something, of people spend their time, or I should say 59% of time is spent in career, which I think was interesting too. Again, this is going back to that review or that article, is they were mentioning the fact that the lead developers said they expected it to be closer to 30%. They didn't realize how popular the career mode would actually have been. And one of the things I've always complained about, and I think everybody's very familiar with this, is the fact that there's nothing to do in a flight sim. I know that sounds stupid, but the reality is like, I'm flying from point A to point B. That's what you do. And then when they finally gave people some purpose, people really latched onto it and had a really, really fun time. Let's see here. He says, unfortunately, the way my chat is set up right now, the last message I can't read. So if you do see something on the bottom, apologies that I don't respond to you right away because I can't physically read it because I'm uploading a video. I've got 5 more minutes left on it from earlier. We have a really cool video coming out on Monday that I'm very, very excited to share, everybody. We have a PC-21 or PC-12. I found a pilot who flies a PC-12, and he basically walked me through it. Longer video for sure, but they did such a nice job as far as giving us all the little details that I know nothing of, and I thought that was really awesome, and I'm very, very happy that the individual just chose to help me out with that project. So that was pretty cool. I love stuff like that. It's just me, though. One of these days, a real F-16 pilot will come find me, and we'll have a heck of a blast of a time. It'll be probably my favorite video of all history. So anyway, back to Flight Sim 2024 here. Like I said, the game looks good. It runs smoothly. VR runs better than ever. The walk-around stuff, I'm not going to lie, I I think it's something that should be skipped. I love it in career mode because it gives you that nice little angle of, obviously, if you're running into a problem or something along those lines, put a joystick on your head movement. Look at how smooth this is. Look at how smooth. I'm a camera operator. But what the cool thing there is, like I said, it works. Where are you going? And somebody must be, oh my goodness, helicopter 5432, you get the gold star for perfect formation flying. Look at that. Nicely done, my friend. Nicely done. Of course, I'm just flying. I'm slowly climbing here, which is interesting because, again, we're here to look around the sites, but getting a little bit of altitude makes me feel a little bit safer. And it's not like I'm trying to fly precisely or anything. I'm not a flight planner or anything. And there's a lot of other cool things, too, that they added. Like little flight planner and things and the, virtual moving map. That's great stuff. Did I mention there's a road that connects all of the keys? Because I think it's dumb, but it's there. And we'll see the really big, long one when we get down to Marathon, obviously. Anyway, I digest, as my dad would say, actually. My great-grandfather. Funny guy. So Flight Sim 2024 career, obviously I've played with it. I love the helicopter stuff. The fixed wing stuff is okay. If you need to make $1 million, basically stay in the Cessna 172 as long as you can. Because the moment you get to the other aircraft, they're so bugged, you basically won't be able to reliably complete missions, or the thing will glitch out on you, or it'll do something really dumb, like make you do like a glider port or like a remote control airplane airport, and they'll be like, carry 16,000 tons of XYZ. Obviously, it wouldn't be that many tons, but I think you get my feels when I mention it's a little ridiculous. Look at this. You can actually see where the reef is in the sandbar. Oh my goodness, getting flashbacks. This is so impressive. I don't know, I just think it's beautiful. And this is when things get nice and quiet as we make our way down here. Obviously, our first little stop is going to be right over there at the end of everything, but we'll kind of head down that way, and I think that's pretty cool. But, yeah, career mode, they got a little ways to go. One of the things they did, too, with one of the patches is they took away all the aircraft. They gave us a ton of airplanes if you got the Aviator edition, which I did. So, of course, I just wanted all those planes I didn't have from the previous Flight Sim. But, some of them are just garbage. Like, the sounds are just bad, or the systems look like something that came from, no offense, X-Plane, 7. And you know exactly what I mean if you've all flown around in some of those things. Now, I'm not going to name any names, but let's just say some of the qualities are a little less than good. That being said, there are a couple of real winners. And one of the funniest things that I saw recently, going to the state of the game here, was over on the Flight Sim forum. I got it one of these days. Over in the Flight Sim forum, I can see a brim. Look at how far away from Florida we are. Man, if we lost an engine now, we'd be swimming. They actually had used one of my existing videos on the airship and basically previewed that video as a way to say how buggy it was. And I just thought that was well, I guess the only thing worse about being talked about is not being talked about. Again, going back to that, we'll just make a bridge. That'll be fine. The bridge is fine. Just use the bridge. I don't know. I just find that stuff kind of funny. All right. I can finally finish my uploads. Helicopters. Oh, yeah. So the thing for me, now I can actually respond to what Tiger Moth was saying. Oh, Tiger Moth, I see what you did there. Tiger Moth, the big thing for me for helicopters is you have to have good controls. When I first started flying them, you're flying like a Thrustmaster T16000, and I'm using the pedals, the combat pedals from Thrustmaster or something with the big bulky brakes and everything. And I was finding that when I was doing that, it was making it so hard to respond smoothly because you really don't need a lot of input control to it. So the way I fixed it is I went into the sensitivity curves and really took the sensitivity out of it. By the way, if you want to learn how to fly a helicopter, go run over to DCS, go borrow the UH-1, the Huey, and fly that for a couple weeks. You will have helicopters down real fast. But what I was saying is when I started getting controls that were better, my helicopter flying got better too. It wasn't that I was bad at it before, but it made it so much easier when for example, this aircraft. If I want to move it to the right now, I think I moved my fingers, I don't know, it was 1/10 of a millimeter, and that's as much as it took me to get it to line up in the direction I wanted. Now, when you're flying helicopters, that's a routine movement kind of a thing like that, and that made a huge difference for me. Like I said, adding the collective would be the next best thing because I'm using a throttle, which is a little sticky, which makes it hard to get those super butter moves when you're actually doing adjustments, but that worked for me. Now, remember when I was mentioning that really stupidly long bridge? That's another example of one of the stupidly long bridges that are along here. Just because you can do bridges to bridges, island to island, doesn't mean you should, but I don't know. It makes me think of places where they have lots of canals or something like that. It's every time you put another canal in, you have to make another bridge, and then they get really elaborate with their locks and stuff like that to try to get around some of the problems with it. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting little problem. Look at this. This is so crazy. Why would you do this? One of the fun things about the word key, by the way, is I always thought it was K. So like, you went to, the Florida K, CAY kind of a thing. Nope, that's just key. That's the word key as well. It's just ignorance as always, because again, I don't live in places like this. I don't visit places like this other than I'm like by a boat basically. Then you find out the hard way. No, that was key the whole time. You've just been embarrassing yourself, and then you just feel kind of dumb. It's part of the fun. Other things in Flight Sim 2024, which I find very, very interesting, other than, like I said, it is a buggy mess. This aircraft, by the way, is not without its issues. There's some really big problems with the turbocharger and the mixture control. It's just going to die on you, for example. The autopilot says to auto dive. There's a lot of other system things. For example, I've got a really important button on this aircraft. See, I've been doing a lot of helicopters lately. This little button down here, which is supposed to basically stop you from getting a vapor lock, which is really, really important at altitude, does nothing. And of course, we have a couple other switches that do nothing on here. The oxygen system doesn't work. We have the mixture. It's just crazy. Texas 70. Always looking for a group to fly with. Can't fly at the moment, but I will later. Which server are you on? Traxxas. Traxxas 70. Thank you. The big thing here is we're always in the East USA server. As I mentioned earlier, I always like to chill on basically... I'm from Connecticut, so I always pick East USA. A couple times we tried like other servers, but then my performance kind of died, and it made what is that? It made it really, really hard for other people to like synchronize, and it just wasn't worth it. So I just stick to what I know and what's close by, and that seems to work pretty well for me. Look at that. Look at that. My goodness. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm going to swing to the right a little bit here as we start making our way down. We're going to be coming up on Marathon in just a few moments here. It's going to be up on my left. And I can't believe how fast this aircraft is. This one does not have retractable landing gear, and I'm doing 171 right now, and I'm not even at full power. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Cool. Like I said, I'd love to do more, get back in the live stream thing, but as I mentioned before, whew, boy, talk about busy. Basically, I didn't have a free Saturday when the year of 2025 started. And the reason for that, of course, was on account of the fact of everything. It was between working every other weekend, or pretty much every weekend. I had family, I had travel, I had absolutely everything in the universe. So it was nutters. There's just no way. Not to mention, every time I got excited about something, I would discover that it was broken again or something along those lines. It just sucks. So looking over my left wing here, not my left wing, this would be at my port quarter. I'll use a ship term here. We have ourselves Marathon Airport. Again, pretty cool. You can imagine all those hotels. I don't even want to imagine what the cost of the hotels are down there. But it's not much airport, and that is kind of our midway point as far as our journey goes. And again, absolutely wild. We're coming up on the stupid bridge in a few seconds here. And again, it's not a stupid bridge. It's valuable because it allows us to link up the islands. Go ahead and take a gentle left turn here. Nice and easy. I remember one of our earlier live streams in the before time of Flight Sim 2020 there. One of the interesting things was when we were basically flying through the mountains, and there was like 30 of us, like in little bush planes, stupidly landing on dangerous strips. Something I'll probably recreate because that's just such a fun region to fly in. And we have some really goofy planes for flying in mountains now, so that makes it pretty easy. Where's all the marinas? Okay, this is what's killing me a little bit here. I would see boats everywhere. For those of you who fly in the real world or look down, if you don't fly, you probably notice that there'd just be little white streams absolutely everywhere. UK, gotcha. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I try to do it at 11 o'clock because that works pretty well. Folks who are in UK or in Europe, they have no problem catching me. People who are on the West Coast, it's pretty early in the morning, but occasionally you get somebody from the West Coast, which is pretty cool. In the old days, I used to do 2 a day. It's just crazy. And even the future of YouTube here as things are shifting. There we go. Marathon. Nice and short runway. I could not imagine flying in there with a single engine plane. I just feel like that's so dangerous. But hey, it works perfectly fine for us. All right. So let's just cross over that waypoint real quick. Getting a little blast. Whoa, hello. Easy on the controls. There we go. My goodness. And we're just going to swing to the right here. And we're going to start making our way toward... Oh, my goodness. People of Marathon, stop pointing your fans upwards. It's very disrespectful. Okay, remember I mentioned that really, really long bridge? I'm not part of the planning commission here. I'm going to let these people figure these things out for themselves. There we are. Obvious high school is obvious. Although I'm not going to lie. That is softball. Just being stupid. Just being stupid. Here we go. Marathon, Florida. Whoa! What is with the turbulence? Delightful. So anyway, like I was saying, it's just been very tough to be able to put these things together. It's something I would like to get more into the habit of, or be able to get back into. There's so many beautiful places to fly, and there are so many unique aircraft in this version of Flight Sim. Love it or hate it, this version of Flight Sim has the most variety of aircraft that I've seen in a sim since X-Plane. And it's just fabulous. The airship, as dumb as it is so much fun in VR. The powered parachute, oh, that thing is fabulous. You can fly anywhere on Earth with it and basically just goof off and you have no problem. They have the hot air balloons. The regular hot air balloon, not going to lie, I don't have enough books on tape, or I should say audiobooks is what we call them now, that would entertain me enough to fly that thing long enough. But the one with propeller is actually really good because you can put it on cruise control and just go. It's just like, I don't know. I think it's fun. And then what's the other goofy aircraft we have? We have an auto gyro now, which is just fantastic. It's so easy to fly. And of course, like you can get really low and really slow. One of the add-ons I noticed the other day, which I found interesting, is someone made like got friends who I think are great developers, by the way. They basically came up with not a go-kart, but basically almost like a rallycross little thing, like a sophisticated off-road go-kart. Let me call it that. And because the road system is actually pretty good in this game, like you can just go around bashing in the woods with it, which is like so cool. Obviously, you have to be careful with your damage settings, and obviously, if you're going to try to do something dumb like try to cross that bridge, you're going to have issues. You just got to kind of be mindful of that. Why? This is pretty. This is really, really pretty. Also, oh my gosh, taxpayer dollars. Taxpayer dollars. Why don't we use the ferry? Nah, let's just build a road. So for those of you who played games like City Skylines, or let's see the other one, Sims 4, SimCity, there we go. SimCity 4 is the one I always think about. I always think about situations like this where like I'm just going to build a bridge to it. It'll be fine. And next thing you know, it looks like this. I don't know. The last game I played that was a big popular city builder, of course, was Workers and Resources. For those of you who have not played that game, it is such a great variation on the traditional city builder game. And it really, really challenged you to think, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it. It'll completely change the way you approach the problems because it is a controlled economy versus a state-controlled economy versus having basically, free economy like you have in those other games. So it creates some really fun, this is your fault problems. And you know exactly what I mean if you played the game. I just think it's kind of fun. Let's see how everybody's doing behind us here. Helicopter, you're too good at this. This is just too good. Too good, my friend. Too good. Missing a few folks out there, but again, this was kind of last minute when we did all these things. So obviously not everybody can make it, but that's okay. This is just so cool. What a neat area. I could just imagine little cars running around here. Just the white lines in the water everywhere would just be something that you just see continuously in regions like this. One thing I do want to do, though, is while I'm cruising around here, how are we doing? We should be on the right tank. Yeah, we're on the right tank. Good to go. Nice. Other things for Flight Sim 2024. Like I said, I've enjoyed the weird oddball airplanes. The game's pretty. It runs fine once you get in there. Aircraft systems, not complete. It kind of reminds me of Flight Sim 10. Although Flight Sim 10, I think, might have been slightly more polished. But like as far as, oh, that button doesn't work. That might be something that's important. Like a lot of little stuff like that I've noticed. I haven't done a lot of stuff with the airliners, the 737 MAX. I want to like it because it's beautiful and it's got nice control displays and it's easy. But it's, they've got the funky ones like the Airbus A400. That's cool, but it's not done. The C-17 is cool, but it's not done. Like, you know what I mean. I think that's generally how people are going to feel about things. Obviously, a year or two from now, these points will all be very, very moot, and I'll have to redo like all my videos again because basically everything will be out of date. But I'm not too worried about that just yet. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else for Flight Sim 2024? I think that's about it. There's nothing I'm really looking forward to. I know that the folks over at PMDG is going to be releasing a 747, one of the classic ones, which is awesome. I also know that we're getting a 757, which is, I'm not going to lie, I love the 757. It's probably my favorite airliner because it represents basically old and new together. You've got kind of a little bit of the old school technology, you got some of the new technology, but more than anything, it's stupid overpowered and it has great range, which I don't know. To me, that's the correct combination of factors I would like in any aircraft, kind of a thing like that. This aircraft, almost stupid overpowered, range is okay. I've definitely run this thing out of fuel in my testing. But again, that's part of the fun. Oh man, this is so pretty. Oh, hey there. So I have Bose A30s for my headsets. Those look like David Clark something or others, which is fine. One thing I always forget to do is put new batteries in it. So you get halfway through the flight and you're like, is it me or did the airplane engine get louder? Because it's active noise canceling. Just kind of one of those silly things. Oh man, if you had a sailboat here, you would just be heaven. Absolutely heaven. To my right just a little bit. There we go. It's a little better. Again, I'm not taking my time to like super trim everything. I'm just kind of enjoying the flight. One of the fun things is I've got this semester at my high school that I teach at. We're doing an aviation class, and it's a really, really fun group of students. So one of the fun things is, you know, every time you turn the turbulence on, like they instantly get panicky. It's like, no, planes can do this, believe it or not, it's okay. But it's one of those things where you just kind of let it do its thing. It's just part of the fun. It's good. Man, this is crazy. I can't believe how many people live here. And again, obviously during the ideal months, I imagine this place gets even more populated. And because we're so far down in the latitudes, I imagine that the weather's pretty good all year, kind of a thing like that. Now, the crazy thing is we have enough fuel in this thing to just kick it and go fly up to, like, you know, Disney World or something like that, which is just crazy when you think about that flexibility. Very nice. Excuse me if I climb over out here, just take a peek. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. It's just a neat region. And again, one of these days, and this is, I've always told people this, is if we had a game where you had Flight Sim World, but you could use any vehicle, like cars and boats and stuff, my goodness, absolute win. Of course, you'd have to come and develop an engine that, if you're in car mode, for example, it would have to be enough accuracy to basically be able to safely control. Is that what I think it is? Yes, it is. Naval Air Station. We'd have to make it accurate enough to basically, you know, be able to drive on roads without getting launched in the sky or something like that every time I hit a bump or whatever. But again, that would just be my absolute dream game. I would love it. Where just here's planet Earth. You can drive, you can walk, you can fly, you can boat. Just go. And that's one of those things where someday, stuff like this, because as dumb as it sounds, I know they're making fun of the road. I'd love to drive on it because it's just cool. I like to have like a custom vehicle on it or something like that. I know there's a game that came a little while ago. I'm going to call it Altera, but I think I'm wrong on that. But basically, they tried to simulate the whole planet with like any vehicles and walking around in edits. But I don't even think it ever actually came out. So, unfortunately. Oh, nice. So real-world flying, I haven't had a ton of real-world flying. One of the downsides to where I live is once the winter starts, the winter starts. And, of course, you don't really get any really bad, like 6 feet of snow or anything like that. I think the most we've ever gotten in a storm this year was something like 6 inches of snow. But the problem we get here is ice. And, of course, an aircraft stored outside becomes a giant block of ice. And no one in their right mind is going to fly an airplane that's been iced up that dangerously. So you just have not flown. I think I flew back in December. I think I've got a flight in the Mooney coming up in March, probably the third week there, so that should be kind of fun. Prior to that, I did get to do a little bit of flying, and like I said, it's always enjoying the real world. It's, whoop, hey, you got to do what you got to do, Simon. It's always fun in the real world to fly, but the one thing that I always remember when I haven't flown in a while and I get back in the plane is just how visceral it is. You know, in the flight sim, everything is very, very, very smooth. It's very contained. Like, I move my controller, it goes nice and gentle. The engine's just rumbling gently in my ears. It's all comfortable. It's relaxing. I don't have to stress. In the real world, you have to move the plane. You have to get the plane started. You got to get the right amount of fuel. You got to get there. You got to pack it. You got to load it. You got to do all these things. You know, tons and tons of physical work to get the thing to actually get to the point where you can start moving in it. Then you drive on the taxiway, you get bounced on the taxiway, the plane makes creaking noises, you think the engine's going to fail, you have traffic issues, you have weather issues, you have birds, and all these other things. You finally get into the place to take off. He says, clear to take off. You go, and the back of your head always sits there going, am I going to be able to safely land this plane? Like, I know it sounds stupid, but like, not that I'd crack or anything. I've got hundreds of landings in the real world now. But it's one of those things where you know the moment that plane is in the air, you now have the responsibility to get it back down on the ground. And there's just something weird about that in the real world you don't get in the sim. But you do your flight, you do your landing, you do everything safely, you get home, then you got to put the whole thing back away again. And it's like, oh my goodness, then you have to put fuel, you have to check the oil, you got to sign it in, you got to do this. This time of year, of course, your fingers are freezing, you have to deal with the weather, and it's just so much. And what great thing about flight sims, especially the folks who are VR folks, you just boop, push the button and off you go, kind of a thing like that. And man, that's like spoilage. I don't know. It's just one of those things. And then, of course, at our flight school, or not flight school, I'm not doing that anymore. At our flight club, we have an Ice Piper, which I've talked about with Mooney, and we have the 182. 182 is such a great plane. It's definitely the family minivan, but it's not a bad thing. It's also kind of fast for like its size and mass and chunkiness. And it has the most bizarre landing thing where you come in at double your stall speed, which seems a little weird. But the moment you pull the throttle back, especially at full flaps, you lift the nose up, you're suddenly doing less than stall speed. It's just, I don't know, it's a weird plane, and I don't hate that at all. I don't know, it's just kind of cool. And then the Mooney, of course, is just bizarre and awesome, and this plane reminds me of the Mooney. And then, of course, the Piper just a great little plane. It's great. It's very hard to have a bad landing with it unless you're just totally goofy about it. And I must be catching one heck of an updraft here because I am just getting lifted here. Okay, let's take a look over here on the right. What's going on? What's going on? No, right side we should be using fuel from. Let me zoom in a little harder here. No, left side we should be using fuel from. I feel like that's not correct. There we go. Pop over to the other side. So at this point, I should probably mention a couple things. Obviously, we have a little bit of time here, so I'm going to beat this ground up just a little bit. One of the things, of course, that we have going on that's neat about this plane, other than the fact it's fast and all those other kind of things like that, is it has like interesting history as far as who bought who from what, and the fact that obviously Cirrus had a little impact here, giving us a little side stick here, which I find kind of neat. And it's just neat. But I was reading some people online who were basically discussing, like, why would you buy this plane? Why would you not buy this plane? Stuff along those lines. And they were basically saying that, like, if you have a little family, maybe one person who flies with you all the time, this is probably the perfect fast sports car plane that you're ever going to get, kind of a thing. Otherwise, get yourself a Cirrus kind of a thing, or something a little bigger, like I was saying, with like the 182. But that's fine. Oh boy, look at the size of that airport. Yeah, we're going to have some fun, though. We're a little early, and believe it or not, not our destination, which I think is kind of fun. Our destination is over there. This is actually the Naval Air Station. Isn't that kind of cool? All right, so let's take advantage of some of the features of this airplane, because we're plenty early. We got a max 8 passengers, a Boeing 738. I don't think they're with us, though. There's a couple people here. Neat. I guess it's not just me today. So what we're going to do, of course, is we're going to abuse the ground a little bit, just to kind of get some quick practice in. I'll just take a look at my clock real quickly here. Oh, you saw me pop my little clock there real fast. Let me use my other little clock. I got plenty of time. So we're going to go ahead and do some quick little practice things because we have an opportunity to do so, and because, hey, why not? This is the kind of stuff that I do when I get there early. I'm going to go ahead and back my throttle up. I'm going to go ahead and pop out my speed brakes. One of the things I love about this plane is speed brakes. One of the things I don't love about this plane is they're more like parachutes than speed brakes, but that's okay. Let's see what we got here. We have a Boeing Max. He's chilling there on the left side on the tarmac, and Carl Sanyo there. Unfortunately, I feel bad for these folks because they have nothing to do with us. So we're just kind of doing our thing, and I'm going to be blitzing them here. I think they're on the end of the runway. It's okay. So let's do some maneuvering here and take advantage of what we can with this airplane. Love the speed brakes on this thing. All airplanes should have speed brakes with these super duper high speed wings, basically. The Piper that I fly, you don't need speed brakes on that thing. You need a rocket motor on that thing to encourage you to move. I just remember the first time giving full power on that airplane, just sitting there like, that was it? First time pulling full power on the Cessna 182, I was impressed. I wasn't used to aircraft that had the constant speed propellers. That was a brand new thing for me at the time. There we go. Just kind of come swing. We'll do some traffic pattern work here because why not? We came all the way down here. That looks good to me. You can see the hotel's probably not optimum there. Should probably have checked the wind and all that other stuff, but we're fine. GPWS. This is such a neat area. Like, we can just keep going that way and go to Mexico. Like, that's what I think is so impressive about this plane. The Vision Jet, by the way, there's 2 Vision Jets. There's the fancy one, and there's the one they gave us. The one they gave us is like a simpler jet. I think it's actually kind of nice. I'm very impressed with that aircraft, too, by the way. There we go. It's about 1,000 feet right there. I got to be careful, though, because we do actually have real-world damage on here, so I can't do anything too foolish. There we go. Right. Yeah, it's not quite parallel, but that's okay. Nice. I love how I can just leave the speed brakes out. Oh, we're doing a formation landing. That's all right. Keep it coming, keep it coming. I got to get below speed. So what I do is you trade flaps for our friends, the speed brakes there. There we go. So one of the things is at the bottom of my monitor, I have a little logo. When the little logo hits the end of the runway, that means you take your left turn right there. Delightful. We're going to go ahead and do some platinum work here. Take my left turn here. When I did this one earlier, I actually went way too wide. So I'll be a little more careful this time. Nose up. Put that last click of flaps in. I love the fact it blinks. Isn't that so cool? Yeah, we're going to go right base to final here. Looks good. Looks good. Got to mow down this poor SF-50 here. It's okay, though. We're a little high. Yeah, just like I said, I'd come a little wide. Okay, let's make sure everything's good. Speed brake's good. We got our flaps down. We don't have gear to worry about on this one. 75 knots is pretty good. We're going to make this one a touch and go. And we're a little high still, but that's okay. First time landing here, by the way. You would think after all the years I've flown flight sims that I would have come in here a couple times. This aircraft has, like, no drag. I could cut the power now and gently land on the number 9 if I wanted. Alright, there we go. Power's out. Speed brake. And what we do is we just hold the nose. We hit the 750 marker. Delightful. Speed brake in. Full power. One click of flaps. Delightful. So one of the fun things in the real world that you don't get to see in the sim very much is that when you do stuff like that, you know, you set your flaps, and one of the things you've done on your approach, which again, this is, you'll know when you try it in the real world, is you've basically set your trim a certain way. So when you bring that click of flaps up and you basically give it that full power, your trim is garbage. Now, if you're flying something like the Piper, you're not even going to notice. Basically, you're going to notice a little bit of extra resistance. If you're flying a Cessna 182 and you do what I just did, oh my goodness. It's like trying to lift up a house. It's absolutely terrible. So you're sitting there scrambling on the trim wheel, basically trying to get the thing all set back up again. Just kind of the fun. All right, that was a pretty easy one. Good swing. I would clean up our plane. Looking pretty good. Oh my goodness, does this thing take wide turns. There's 1,000 feet. I'm going to go ahead and drop my power at about half. Oh my goodness. I've also lost my flight path indicator. That's okay though. And we're going to go right into the downwind here. Oh my goodness. Jeez. This thing's got places to be. There we go. That was runway 9, I believe, which means that we got to come over to 270 here. There we go, right there. Delightful. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and take our parallel here, our downwind. We'll go ahead and make this one a short landing. Always good to practice your short landings whenever you're doing anything like this. Swing to my right a little bit, swing to my left. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Pop down that first click of flaps. Like I said, this thing does not want to slow down usually. Pretty good. We'll do the short approach this time. Getting bounced a little bit, but nothing too bad. I imagine this is a really tricky plane to fly with one hand, but never tried it. And short approach time, go. Short approach, engine out. Ooh. Yeah, it's easy with the speed brakes. Slip the plane. Hear it groaning. All right, there we are. Woo! Had to earn that one. I like how we touched down at about the same spot. I saw that bounce. All right. And then there's one more I like to do whenever I'm doing my little practice takeoff and landings here. Make sure you get those speed brakes out of the way. One more that I like to do, especially with an aircraft with this much performance. Go ahead and cruise up. Annoy all the people in this hotel who are trying to rest, although it's pretty late in the day at this point. Take a left turn. And that short approach was okay. We'll do kind of a fun one this time. Coming on up. Delightful. See that big swamp where they said, nah, we're just going to put the airport right there. It'll be fine. Nobody will notice. There we go. Probably should have left my flaps down. That would have been SMRT. There we go. Let's actually keep this plane in control this time. There we go. Nice and easy, nice and easy. West. All right, so the last approach I like to do too, and this is just a neat demonstration of this aircraft here, is I'm going to do no flaps. And the reason I really like practicing these in the real world is you never know. These are electric flaps. There's no way to guarantee they're going to go down. And the other thing I really like is that whenever you have a really well-modeled airplane, when you do a no-flap landing, it's very awkward to get the plane on the ground in the last 10 feet. Your nose is going to be chilling at like 10 degrees, and the plane's just not going to want to settle. All right, that looks pretty good right there. That's our runway 9. This will be our last landing today. If you want to join us for the picture, I'll be over by the terminal when we get on the ground. All right, throttle idle. Obviously, we have no flaps. So this is going to require a little bit more practice on our part in order to get this one accurate. Looks good. Go ahead and bring that nose up. I love look at the size of the trim tab on this. I actually have to kind of go out to sea a little bit on this one. There we go. Because otherwise, I'm going to cut this corner way too tight. And is it me or is my screen a little dark? I think it has something to do with the Florida weather here. One of the things I'm so impressed with is you'll notice I have no throttle in right now. Because there ain't no drag. Alright, looks actually pretty good right here. Okay, let's go swing around. That was a base to final if I've ever seen one. My goodness, I am overshooting bad today. Full slip. There we go. Much better. All right, let's see what we got. I am almost full back elevator here. Okay, this is the goofy part of no flap landings right here. You'll notice those extra 80 knots, we absolutely cannot get rid of them. So you end up doing one of these where you're like I said, almost 10 degrees before it finally settles. There it goes. And you basically got to, whoa, try to stay in the middle of the runway. Eek! And that's why I like to practice those, because they're a little goofy. And yes, I did use the speed brakes. I said flapless. I didn't say speed brakeless. All right. Delightful. Slow down just a little bit, and I'll come swing around if you'd like to join us for the picture. For those of you who have not flown with us before, I always do a big picture over by the terminal or something like that. Sometimes you get lucky, and there's like a pretty place to like take it or something like that. But for us, we'll come swing over here. I noticed the Boeing 737-8. Oh, no, he's over there. He's just a little invisible, which is interesting, I suppose. Come swing over here. I'm just trying to find a nice calm spot. Probably kicking around there. I'll try really hard not to drag the wing of the plane on the ground this time. That'd be pretty embarrassing. There we go. How you doing? All right. I'll get ready for the photograph. I'll go out the brakes. Oh, that hurts. This is a nice looking plane. I like this thing. All right, who are we missing here? Natty B's not with us. Carl Sanio's not with us. Helicopters are with us. I think we somehow lost Simon there. That's okay, though. Where did you go? Oh, there's Simon. Can't miss the picture without Simon here. And usually another thing that I like to do, too, is at the end of one of these is I go stick it into the water somewhere. We've got a lot of ocean to do this with. We just got to wait until he catches up here. So at this point, as always, we're going to do some Q&A. Does anybody have any questions or things they'd like to see? Maybe some video suggestions or something along those lines. We have plenty of stuff planned for you, of course, thanks to the wonders that is Flight Sim 2024. Oh, I can just drag a box now. Look at how cool that is. There it goes. Now it saves it to my clipboard. I'll wait until he sneaks behind us there so everybody can see their name very clearly. That's kind of a neat thing. I like that. So, yes, I know. I see the picture. So are there any questions, comments, things that you folks would like to see? That will be our picture for our thumbnail. And, of course, as everybody's thinking of their questions and comments, I'm going to go find something hard to kind of crash us into here. Go! This seems safe. Oh no, Judge, no! Alright, let's go find something unsafe to crash our aircraft into. Let's see here. Now the stall on this thing should be really bad if it's a true laminar flow wing. We just need to find something safe to stall onto here. I don't want to go crashing into buildings because that's just completely wrong in every possible way. Let's see here. Swing over to the left. That looks like a pretty good body of water. Oh, yeah, I saw that, Simon. You kept having to catch up to us there. Sim rate is a little busted, by the way. If you try to do 2x, and then you go down to 1x, you get 1/2x, and then if you go down below that, it becomes like 0.75x. It's goofy. And unfortunately, they're still working on solving that one. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. I can hear another airplane. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Gotta watch out for that island there. Wait for it. Oh my. At the sound of the tone. Whoa! Ooh, just a little buffet. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Let's see if we can really mess it up. There we go. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh. Huh. I did not expect that. I guess I must have shut damage off at some point. I don't know when I did that. That's okay though. We're now a float plane. I think I'll just get out. Ah. So you learn something every day, and apparently this is solid. All right, folks, as always, thank you for joining us on our stream. Hopefully we'll catch you again. Don't know what we're going to do as far as getting like a regular schedule or anything like that for streams. One of the downsides I've got going on right now, like I said, is my schedule's not terribly reliable, but as the weather gets better and as the new versions of this program get out, it'll probably be easier and easier to do these kinds of things in the future. But other than that, enjoy.